Congressman, so glad to have you with us. Let's talk about this conversation about the civil rights struggle. Yesterday, Congressman Al Green appeared on this program and invoked the late John Lewis in talking about the kind of leadership we need right now. Let's listen.
I have said the things that I do are of conscience. My conscience dictated that I do what I did. I am prepared to accept whatever the punishment is. I don't have to agree with it, but I can accept it because that's what peaceful protest demands. First, it demands that you get in the way. This is what John Lewis used to say, which means you're disruptive. And then you have to be prepared to suffer the consequences. I think that that would be inappropriate for the speaker to do or my colleagues, but I'm prepared to suffer the consequences. And by the way, candidly, then this is not to insult anyone. I would do it again because we have to stand up for those who cannot stand for themselves.
Congressman, we've talked before, and I have to point out, it occurs to me that the most resonant voices of opposition right now are Black Americans, including yourself, Representatives Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, just to name a few, without any shade to anyone else, who are keeping the responsibility of protecting and securing American democracy. But that's from a group that has always been most vulnerable and least served by American democracy. Can you reflect on that for this moment and what lessons we've learned?
Well, there's no question. First of all, thank you for having me, Charles. And it's fitting and proper that we are celebrating 60 years of Bloody Sunday in Selma today. But this activities all the week highlight the fact that when change comes to this country, it's primarily people of color leading the charge. And so Al Green's leading the charge this past week in Congress. What you saw and continue to see in Selma is people saying we won't forget. Now, because of Al Green, people will start taking notice of all of the things that are happening to them in Congress. Veterans will take notice. Students will take notice. Just the average ordinary citizen will begin to take notice because they'll say something is going on. And it must not be right because people who are trying to defend what they're doing are not making sense. And so again, in the spirit of Martin, Medgar, and a lot of people who fought and died to make this country what it is, we are now in another battle to reaffirm that those battles they fought have not been in vain. And so this administration, in its Project 2025 wisdom, and its unelected Elon Musk and others are trying to push back all that progress. And so Al Green, energy at the speech last week is just a part of what you will see people in labor doing, people in education, people in healthcare. Now our veterans are upset, our farmers are upset because what they see and hear is not the America that they have come to know and love.
Congressman Thompson, I don't want to get you in no trouble today, but we are going to talk straight because that's what we do. Today is Bloody Sunday, which, as you talk about the spirit of so many different civil rights leaders, leads me to think about the spirit of so many who have gone into and done what we know your former colleague talked about and called good trouble. I have a problem with some of your Democratic colleagues when Congressman Al Green gets into good trouble, as the great John Lewis dubbed it, voting against him and voting for his censure. How do you square that with respect to your party in this moment going forward?
Well, look, if you go back 60 years ago, there were a lot of people in the party who wasn't on the right side of the civil rights legislation that we passed after Bloody Sunday. At some point, I see Democrats lining up. This is just the first opportunity. Now we have to educate the members who are not quite there, what's in their own best interest. Here's somebody in the White House who said he wanted to be a dictator for a day. Now, for the greatest democracy in the world to be led by someone who wants to be a dictator, that doesn't square up with the America that we know. And so what we're going to have to do is educate those members who are not quite there. And I think in time we'll get there. But, you know, Democrats are noted for having spirited discussions. And as you know, when we passed the Voting Rights Act, there were a lot of folk on the wrong side of the issue. They came along later. And I see this as Al Green laying down the marker that here we're going to have to start. And in him laying down that marker, it has forced Democrats to look at themselves and say, look, we can't continue to play nice because we are dealing with the administration that's polar opposite of what we stand for. And because of that, it takes the Al Greens of the world to force the rest of America who think right to start saying we have to come up with an approach and a solution. And I think you'll have that. Hakeem Jeffries has already come out and said he's against the proposed continuing resolution. We have people, and you know, politics make strange bedfellows. And what you'll see over time is some of the people who voted for Trump coming to Democrats saying you all going to have to help us because this guy's bad news. So we'll see that. For instance, nursing homes. Nobody in the nursing home ownership community has stepped forward. But when you do an $880 billion cut in Medicaid, and the majority of that money is going to come from nursing homes, they'll begin to look up and say, we need help. The other side is afraid because they have a bully as president who got people saying, well, I really wish Benny and I could be with you, but if I am, they'll primary me. These are grown men and women who are saying this. I never thought in this democracy I'd see men and women becoming cowards because they don't have an opinion of their own that they can voice.
Congressman, I have to ask you about this very interesting political quagmire that is coming up with the CR. What are your thoughts about the position that this puts not only the American government, the federal worker, but also the people who depend on these critical services in? And how do you intend to approach whether you are going to vote in favor of this CR or try to get something more permanent passed?
Well, you know, I'm going to follow my leadership. Look, Hakeem Jeffries has been a stellar leader on our side. I look forward to working with him. We have to carry a message. That message is Democrats care about everyone, not just the rich and famous. And so what we have involved here is a proposal, obviously that's done by Republicans, and they're putting it forward right now for a vote on Tuesday. That's not how democracy works. But obviously, when you have Donald Trump in the White House and Republicans following him, that's what you do. Democrats stand for people. We want to help everyone in this country, whether you're in agriculture, healthcare, education, and all of that is who we are. You shouldn't penalize people who need our help. And that's what this continuing resolution is offering. And we're not going to stand for it. We're going to push back. It's the Republicans' proposal. They're going to have to pass it, and they're going to have to own it, and they're going to have to justify it.